Hey guys, thank you for joining us for another exciting episode of YOMO. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast, and we are continuing installments of the book in Everyone Culture. So today we do what, three or four, and today I think it's a good reflection.
Oh, good. Oh, well, thank you. Did you read it?
I glimpse,
Okay. All
I
right. All right.
glitter.
So this one is part 3 or 4 of An Everybody Culture, or An Everyone Culture, Becoming a Deliberately Developmental Organization by Robert Kegan and Lisa Laskow Lahey. So this book's about, they're studying these 3 cultures basically that live inside of a business entity, and these are all very deliberately developmental organizations to help their people to grow, learn, and evolve, and strive to be the best person they can be as a group, of meaningful work and meaningful relationships. So very much in line with everything that we're doing with Clubbing. It felt good to know that there's others out there in this world that are trying to do this just in a different environment than what we're trying to do. So we have our own little spin on it, but and that spin's a big spin in my opinion, because we're changing the paradigm of what we start with. Either way, though, these organizations, we can learn a lot from them, and this is called Your Magical Learning, right? So we are learning. So this particular lesson that I learned from An Everyone Culture, reflection title is Manufacturing Instability. I started this off with humans, we crave order, consistency, and predictability, right? And we go to great lengths to try to make that happen. We really love to think that we can predict the future and can control a lot of things. And we love consistency, forecast. We like to think, yes, we do think we can do this. I don't know why we
No,
think we
well, we
can.
like to think into, and then eventually all the self, self actualizing it, and we start thinking it that way.
Right. Yes. Right. We make thoughts become things, right? And we've turned all of our thoughts to desires of stability into and well, anyway, I said the word stability, and the first thing that comes to mind, you remember back to A Brave New World with community, identity, and stability. The funny thing is like they in A Brave New World, they did really, really try to bring community, identity, and stability like to what they were trying to do, and it didn't work. Shocker, right? Like, because that's not how the world operates. You can try really, really hard, but it doesn't work ever. That's just not one of the universal laws, and we can't violate that. However, Everyone Culture started to make me think, though, about, in particular, one of the things that they talked about in the Next Jump company is they forced their team to change roles every 2 years. Once you've hit a second year in your role, you're like, yep, you're out. Just when you think you're starting to get good at something, they don't care. Like, here, go find another job to go try to do, and go learn something new, and go challenge yourself in other ways, and see what happens, right? And like that's a wild thought. I mean, it's something you and I have actually talked about, of trying to do ourselves, and I think there's a lot of science behind this, honestly, and a lot of understanding. But I think what the biggest part of it is instability. Like, it just forcing you to go get outside of your comfort zone and go learn, and it brings the best out of everybody. I mean, we've read so many books on this journey about, how quote unquote happy people are in times of crisis, whether it be like wars, whether it be the book Humankind, the book Tribes, Wine and War, the Geography of Bliss, the Nightingale, I don't know. I mean, the people oftentimes look back on their horrible times in their life and they think about how happy they were in a weird way. And I think the reason why people feel this way is because crisis forces out of you all of who you are. You learn who you are when you are pushed to the limits. And in that process, you end up learning your values, right? For me personally, I think back to my own happiest times of my life, fondest memories, often all revolve around periods of massive instability in my life, whether it was getting married or moving off to college or getting a new job, getting fired from a job, having children, buying a home, whatever. Obviously, losing my daughter, I'm not going to say that was the happiest time of my life, but I look back on that time with her very fondly still. Even spending 6 months in the NICU over the course of a year in the pandemic, I don't want to do that stuff again. But at the same time, like, it definitely, like we've talked about, it's like Zelda with a little piece of the Triforce. I feel like I definitely found a little piece of myself, through all of those events. And that little piece of myself turned into values that I can anchor on. It showed me what I really care about when I was pushed to the limits in a lot of ways. Conversely, the times in my life when I've been the most stable have actually been probably the times when I've been the least happy in my life. I don't think that that's a surprise anymore to me. Like, I mean, it makes sense to me now. As a matter of fact, probably the time of my life when I should have been the happiest, just based off of what everybody tells you should be happy, I was probably the most miserable that I've ever been. It was when I was working at Angie's List. I was making well over 6 figures. I was 26, I think. had just gotten an opportunity. I just got an opportunity to run my own sales team. I was like one of the top sellers there. I made really good money. I loved my boss. I loved the culture, the environment that I was in. I loved my team that I got to manage. Just bought a house, my first home when I was like 26 or something like that. I was getting married. I mean, loved my wife. Like, I mean, everything seemed like on a, on the surface. I just bought a car, like a brand new car. Like, I mean, like everything on its surface, if you would have asked me when I was 25 years old,
you're living the American dream.
Right, exactly. Like, I mean, if you would have asked me when I was 21 or 22 years old, when I was graduating college, what would I hope my life would look like when I'm 27 years old? Like, that probably would have been the exact thing that I would have said. I would have been like, this is exactly what I want. I was even starting to, I had a side business that was actually starting to become really successful. There was just a whole lot of good that was going on, but I wasn't happy. I knew how to do my job really, really well. I was bored out of my mind. I couldn't stand what I was doing every single day anymore, and I didn't know why. I struggled to get out of bed, and then all of a sudden, boom, panic attacks, right? That's when I started having panic attacks. It was when I was 20 years old. It was almost like the universe was telling me, hey, you need to shake some shit up here, right? Like, I mean, that was one of the hardest things that I've ever dealt with, and this is coming from somebody that's lost a child and spent, a better part of a year in the NICU, basically, with 2 children. Panic attacks were like the most, I could not wrap my brain around. I'm like, I'm supposed to feel good. I'm supposed to be happy right now, but I'm not. I was like, where is this coming from? Why am I so stressed and anxious? It was baffling to me. Honestly, it was beyond baffling to me. At the time of the panic attacks, if you would have asked me, am I having fun? No, I would have said I'm miserable. And I was. But actually, I look back on that time now in my life of fighting through that and figuring out a way forward and finding my own path. And what I learned out of that is I look back on it very fondly. It's one of these weird things where, if you haven't gotten the theme of what I'm talking about, is instability leads to happiness in a lot of ways, in a weird way. Now, you and I have talked about this a million times. These are all events that happened to me, right? That I got to experience and bring my full values out. Like, question then becomes is, what if you could do this all the time? That's when you're at your best. And that's when you get to see all of who you are come out and be the person you want to be. And be happy in a weird way, or fulfilled, or whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. Why can't you do that all the time? So the question then would be, is how do you then manufacture instability in your life where you can get an opportunity to stress yourself in controlled ways where you can then leverage your values and anchor on those and do it on purpose, and do it every day. Like, you don't have to wait for an atomic bomb or a mini bomb or a Scud missile to not wake you back up or something like that. You can kind of do this. I don't know. So the idea would then be, man, this is why I think, and you and I have both talked about this, we want to institute something of, well, you got to change jobs or something like that every couple of years within this world, because keep you on your toes, keep yourself learning, keep yourself growing, keep yourself stable. Don't get comfortable, because the moment you get comfortable, you stop using it. The moment you stop using it, you lose it, And yeah, I think some manufactured instability is the path forward for me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think?
So before I say anything, I think what you say throughout your career prior to clubbing is you have this American dream. And American dream is, everybody dreams of it. That's why they call it the American dream. But the sad part of that is not Chris's dream.
No, not at all. Yeah.
The problem is everyone is not everyone, right? Everyone is individually unique, and they cannot fit into this quote unquote American dream, or whoever say this is the dream. No, everybody has their own uniqueness, and their dream will also be unique. But back to the reflection. So I'm about 80% agree with what you said. And the reason why I agree is because I do agree with the concept. I disagree with the wording in itself, because I don't think the wording really sticks to me as how this is clarity. For me, as you said, we crave order, consistency, and predictability. And that's what we think we want, but it's not really what we want, right? Because a lot of time we like to categorize things using our understanding to label and categorize the world, right? Let's imagine we're talking about the kind environment, which is what we made up, right? Like a chess game or tennis game. We made up a certain rule, right? And then the wicked environment, the dynamic environment in the real world. And so the wicked environment has so many variables, so many dimensions, right? So whenever you're trying to understand something, and you're trying to understand and take the rules inside of a kind, quote unquote, limited constrained variable environment and then use that to define what it is in the wicked environment, it often doesn't or doesn't translate directly.
I don't
It's
think it
just
ever
like
does.
because you imagine, hey, you have let's say you have a 2 dimension versus a 3 dimension. So inside of a 3 dimension, let's say a 3 dimension is a pyramid, right? So you imagine a pyramid sitting on my hand, and you look down from the the sky, and you look down flat, and you flatten it to a 2 dimension. What does a pyramid look like?
I have no idea.
It looks like a square because it's 2 dimension,
Oh,
right?
yeah, okay,
Right.
yeah.
But in the 3 dimension, right? It's the square is just one of the side of the many sides. So
Right.
I'm giving you one example of a difference between a 1 dimension to one difference in dimension, a 2 dimension to a 3 dimension, because the pyramid has how many sides, right? It has like 5 sides, right? Because the bottom and then the 4 sides, on the actually 5 sides of the point. But my point is that it's multitude of variable that is just from one dimension to the next. So whenever we take the translation from a kind environment like a 2 dimensional environment, and we say, hey, it looks like a square, and we project this, hey, that object in 3 dimension is a square too. And you're completely wrong. You're right somewhat because you're right on one other side, but the other side you were wrong. When we say that, hey, we create consistency, order, and predictability, to me, in my opinion, it's not true. We don't crave that at all. Which to me,
I agree. I think we crave adventure,
we crave
curiosity,
something different.
novelty.
What we crave, at least that I know of, that's two distinct points. One is
not a crave. It's not a crave, actually. Crave is the wrong word because, like, I don't. It's not. It's not
right.
A craving.
Like I say, it's not craving.
Instability.
We want that.
I think it unlocks us.
We want that. We are drawn to this. We are drawn to a certain attribute. We are drawn to the quote unquote stability, right?
Right.
And
I think we do crave that.
No, we don't.
I think we do crave
I'm telling you why. Because the thing is, we don't actually crave stability.
We think we crave.
I'm not sure how to explain it because, like I say, it's hard to explain. That's why I don't agree with the wording, because we don't actually crave the predictability and stability of anything. We actually want to be able to, how do I say?
Idea?
No. We talk about Maslow's pyramid. We crave the security, right? We don't want to. We want to get to the level where we don't have to worry about like getting killed, getting
the hierarchy,
so the hierarchy of needs. Once you have that, so you imagine when you and I in company that inside of company where you and I have this scholarship for life, when we have a living salary and we can do what we want, and you telling me, hey, True, go try this, go try that. You think I'm excited to go try it? One of the area that we are drawn to is the need to have that security, to have that protection.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So that's one. The other one, which is I keep saying this in many of the previous episodes, is we crave the explorations and discovery. So that means that in itself, well, that ballpark, right? Yeah. That in itself contradicts stabilities.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, from the point of two, if you get to a certain level, for example, if the needs are like, hey, I don't have stability, then this little alarm on security is keep raising high because it's core to you. You need to survive. It overrides the other piece, because when you fear for your life, when you fear that you are going to get left out of the tribe and you get eaten by wild animals or whatever, you forgo the novelty and discovery and other newness, right? So it's those paradigms that kind of make it seems like you are drawn to predictability, but it isn't, because human beings need novelty. Without novelty, right, we actually cannot live.
So boring. Or like if I had to live a boring,
that's why I say it's the American dream, but it's not Chris's dream, because it's great. But the thing is, you're so bored out of your mind that it's like, okay, if I have to let my rider make decisions, I would rather end my life. But the thing is, the elephant has the primitive instinct of I need to survive, so it overrides the rider, and that's the case. So there is a levels of, I guess, criticality in terms of what decision is trump the other decisions.
Right.
But I think is those are two separate things that like kind of like when you put a hybrid them together, it makes
it's mismatched. It's mismatched. I mean, like I was thinking, and my body was telling me to be fearful and to panic in an environment where I was 1000% safe and calm and predictable and understood and like everything. Like it's a mismatch. Like
right, exactly. So that's why it isn't what it seems. Because we're looking at something, we think, hey, we are drawn to this thing, but we're not. It's a hybrid, a mismatch of some Frankenstein of two or things, right? Two or more things of our instincts. Right. It kind of clash together. And then when you look at it, it looks like it's this piece. So you know how you have the illusion where you have one square and the other square is exactly the same, but the background is different, like a dark background and white background. So it seems like that object is different, but it is not, right? And so
like, running uphill and downhill simultaneously, where you think you're running downhill, but you're actually running uphill, So
the point I'm saying is like what we are able to define doesn't have enough metrics to measure it. So we are losing signals of what we are looking at. Just like when we are looking at a three-dimensional object from a two-dimensional view, the only thing you can see is either a square or a triangle. You think about it, if you are a two-dimensional, let's say you take a pyramid and you flatten it, right? You can only flatten it only two ways, right?
There was some book I read that I started to read. It was about like a two-dimensional person and a three-dimensional, or like it was a three-dimensional person. Something about like
a three-dimensional, right?
I listened to it for like 5 minutes and I was like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Because it was like zooming out. He's like, you're supposed to be like looking down on two-dimensional land or whatever from above, but like somehow it was like, but you're in three-dimensional land or something. I can't remember exactly what it was about.
But I never read that book though, by the way.
Yeah, right. No, there was a literal book.
Right, I'm just kind of explaining to you that there is something missing when you compress the three-dimensional object from a two-dimensional view, because the only way you can compress it, you compress it like the pyramid from the top down, you compress it. It looks like a square, right? But you press it on any side at all, right? It's gonna look like a triangle. So the thing is,
Flatland. That's what it's called, Flatland.
Right. Yeah. So similar to what I'm saying is, whenever you look at a three-dimensional object, it is always gonna have a loss of side or characters, whatever you want to say, right? It's a loss of parent has more than two sides, right? And so you lose a lot of sides. So you are basically discarding so many characteristics of that object. So when you are, that's an example of going from a two-dimension to three-dimension. Imagine you're going from like a two-dimension to a 30-dimension. How much lostness that you experience just from switching. And so when we are talking about what happens in real life to us as human versus what we are able to understand, we're going from a two-dimensional to like a 30 or 100 dimensions. So that's the difference between a wicked environment and a kind environment. A kind environment is so limited in the definitions and terms of what we can understand. And then in the real world, with the wicked environment, there's known numbers of variables that we can't even count. How can we even start to understand most of it? We can't. And so that's what I'm saying is, I think from the reflection itself, I think the word instability is, I think it will work for now, but I think we may have to redefine it over time to kind of give it more clarity.
Yeah, but I mean, that's fair. I mean, in a weird way, it's called company. That is what we're doing, is we're manufacturing instability. We're telling people to get out of your comfort zone, put those first things first every single day.
I think the word manufacturing, but it isn't.
We're actively doing it. We're actively taking agency over the instability.
Right, and I agree with that. I also agree with that 80%, because what I'm saying is, because we were talking about this the other day about, when we want to learn something, we have these core values of learning, right? Right, because we have learned. We say, hey, I love learning. So I'm asking you, do you say, when you say you love learning, do you love learning everything? You love learning about KBR,
where, why matters, right?
More distillations of this core value you have to do. So the same thing with the manufacturing stability is for us is, let's say You say, hey, true, I need you to go be an extrovert.
You're an extrovert right now. I mean,
But my point is, there are things that we are drawn to naturally. So
sure.
go back to what you showed me, the comfort zone, the stretch zone, and the panic zone.
Panic.
And you told me what the difference between the panic zone and stretch zone. What was it?
One is you're put there, and the other one is you put yourself there.
So imagine the word manufacturing.
How about controlled?
Thank you.
Right.
That is much better. Control.
Okay.
Because the thing is, I think if you can align yourself, not how to manufacture, but you say, hey, I know this, and I want to be in this core value. Because like you imagine us in company at a time when we have the scholarship where we don't have to worry about the security, we are gonna yearn to do something new that aligns with us. Hey, because for me, it's like, hey, go out there and build, shed, build cabinets, go dig holes and plant trees and whatever. I'm all over it, right? You go tell me to do something that aligns with who I am. I will always want to do that because I haven't done it. I yearn to do that, right? And for me and for you, I think most cases, until you get to the point where you plateau on the discovery and the newness, right? Let's say you're in pickleball or you're in tennis, whatever. There's a certain level of enjoyment you get because you are discovering so many things new. At a certain point when it starts to plateau, then you start saying, it isn't as much. And that increasing
incremental gain.
The incremental gain, it starts to, you're going to start to want to try something new. You're going to try to change job. You want to, because the only reason why we don't want to change job or whatever is because of the core security that we want as a human being. Otherwise, we yearn to want to switch jobs.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I don't think there's ever been a job that I've ever held more than 3 years from my life.
I get bored with it.
I mean, I've company for many years.
6 months to 6 months to a year.
Oh my God.
Already. And to me, it's like I am doing the coding, right? So for me, is I like to start a new, greenfield project, meaning a new app, whatever. So I go in there and I build, and like really go hard at it, right? And then when it starts to stabilize, I get bored. That's 100%. Like 6 months. You can't expect me to sit there and do the same thing, even in coding, for more than a year. So you think, hey, let's say we love to learn, but we love to learn about QBR. There's no way you can say, hey, because you love learning, you learn QBR for your whole entire life.
Oh my God, for sure. I mean, like actually, now that you say all that too, like you just triggered a thought of one of the reasons why I think I love tennis so much and why I love pickleball so much now is because every one of my opponents are different. Like every game is different.
Simple. If you play a simple game, you get bored quickly. Let's play like tic-tac-toe.
Right. I'll get bored.
Okay. You get bored quickly, but because you play pickleball, it has so many variables in that game. It has so many combinations, and that combination presents the opportunities for the discovery and the newness, the novelty, and that's why you're still drawn to it. When we are so drawn to the novelty and the newness and the discovery and exploration, to me, a human being, we have to explore.
You're dead on that one. There's this tool that I acquired for my team. It's called Connect and Sell. I don't know. Have I told you about this?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so this is the coolest tool ever. Hang on, before I get into that, Flatland. That's the book. It's called Flatland. It's a two-dimensional world inhabited by geometric figures, and they imagine a one-dimensional world, and they also imagine a three-dimensional world, and then it's like this. It's called Flatland. It was like some 1884 book called Flatland. I feel like you would probably I might like it. Yeah, right. Maybe I got like 45 minutes into this thing, and I was like, I have no idea what's happening. And I'm so my brain was like, I cannot follow along with the squares and the line and the polygons
it's too much newness. You're drinking from a fire hydrant.
It's the wrong fire hydrant. It reminded me of Donald Duck in Mathematics Land. Did you ever see that?
No.
Mathmagic Land is what it's called. Back when we had VHSs, my parents, I don't know why, I feel like I'm traumatized by this. This is one of the only VHSs I can remember is Donald Duck in Mathmagic Land. It would play all the time, but it was like this creepy, weird, like color. You see how the color's like really dark and creepy and spooky? Well, it's like got this really low narrator that's like, I remember him playing pool, and it's like, it's showing like angles of the pool ball, going in, if you look at this star and this segment, and blah, it's like boop, 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 and then and Donald's like, wow, that's great, it's I mean, shit, I almost want to play it right now. Here. Oh, the billiards. Here you go. Can you hear this?
Yes, the other balls. But it must contact at least 3 cushions before it hits the final ball. One, two, three. One, two, three.
That'll come eventually.
It takes an expert to make several shots in succession. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's skill. For this game, you have to know all the angles. First, there's technique.
Truce mesmerism.
He's striking the cue ball low, so it'll spin backwards.
Yeah, these triangles start popping.
Hitting the ball on the right side will make it hug the rail. These trick shots take a lot of practice. 1, 2, 3. This game takes precise calculation. He figures out each shot in his head.
Creepy.
He could play it like this, but it calls for quite a bit of luck. There is a better choice. For this, he uses the diamond markings on the rail as a mathematical guide. First, he figures the natural angle for hitting the object balls. And then he finds that his cue ball must bounce off the number 3 diamond. Next, he gets ready for the shot, and he needs a number for his cue position. This calls for a different set of numbers.
Very confusing, isn't it?
Not when you get the hang of it. You see, the cue position is 4. Now a simple subtraction. 3 from 4 is 1. So if he shoots for the first diamond, he should make it. It's called playing the diamond system. Natural angle 2. Cue position 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. 2 from 3.5 is 1.5. So shoot halfway between the first and second diamonds.
That's interesting.
There's no guesswork to mathematics. It's quite simple. Natural angle for the hit. 2. Cue position. 3.
Anyway, this is my childhood. I'm traumatized by this. Have you ever seen this before?
No, I've never seen it.
So yeah, your all your angles and your dimensions in this Flatland book. Like, this is why I hate math, man. Like,
Talking my language. You're talking my language now. It's like
I still didn't understand what I just saw. Like,
this is interesting to me. This is interesting to me.
Did that register for you with what they were talking about with the cue balls and whatever, and like where the angle was, like, and it didn't for me. I was like, what do you mean?
That's
like,
that's a metric system, because the thing is, you want to say, let's say you have an angle from the side, and you want the angle to where the ball hits, right? You say, well, where is that? And then where is the cue ball at, right? And where you're going to hit it from? And you just take, okay, where do I aim at so that it will hit the ball, like where you want it to go in that
how do you
direction.
know where you're aiming at, though? Like, he just said it was like a given. Your cue position's at 3.5. Well, you put it at 3.5.
Right.
I'm saying, like, how did you know how to pick 3.5?
You can pick 4 if you want. If you pick 4, then your aim will be at a different spot. You can pick at any angle you want.
He was saying that's not the right angle.
It's the most likely angle, because you want to go that way, right? Because if the cue bar, let's say the cue bar is over here, and the other ball you want to hit is down here, right? You're gonna have to hit it down that direction, but you gotta have to hit against the wall opposite it. And so, where is the most likely where you hit it? So you're gonna have to say where is the closest marking, which is 3.5. You just pick them. You can pick a 3 if you want, but a 3 minus 1 is gonna be what? It's gonna be 2, right? So instead of 1.5, you hit a 2. You understand?
Yeah, no,
So
I mean, I
you
do.
pick it.
If you made me do this while I was playing pool, I would be like, I have no
That's what
idea
I'm saying
what you're
is
talking about.
that's what I'm saying is the novelty we have, and so there's more to the combinations of different, I guess, element that's drawn us. Because the thing is, it's not only the novelty, but the novelty has to be to the point where we can take it and not be overwhelmed. Just like, hey, I like to drink water, but I can't drink from a fire hydrant. I can be so thirsty, right? I can be like dying of thirst, and you give me a fire hydrant, I can't drink from it. So to us, there is an optimum. An optimum like middle level where, hey, I can pour the water, and that water is slow enough for me to pause and gulp down a little bit, and then taking the more and gulp down a little more. So that's what I'm saying is, for us human beings, we need novelty, but the novelty has to be at an incremental level that we can take. When you take it at a level where it is like a fire hydrant, you have this complete like overwhelmed like experience, and you're like
your brain gets like
right. And so that's why you like the book by Bill Bryson so much, because he, like, Richard Feynman, he's a great teacher because he can take what is so complex that is beyond the gap is so large, he can bridge it. He bridged that gap. So when you bridge a gap, you can take those in chunks, and that's why Richard Feynman is a great teacher. Bill Bryson would be a great teacher, and so that's what I'm saying is this optimal like combination. And so for you, like for example, you say, hey, you hate math, right? Not because you're not
I don't
good
hate
at
math. I hate math. I love math that's applied to humanity, because I think I've discovered that I really just love exploring humanity and exploring how we interact with the universe, like which math elements that relates to that, I'm into it.
Of interest, a certain level of interest in a certain subject, and the interest begets understanding, right? No interest, no understanding, and without understanding, anything that is not even in the interest, you not gonna like it. Anything that's beyond your understanding, there's not an interest in that realm. So therefore, it becomes this far-fetched thing where you can, hey, I give up. I can't process it.
Right. Like A Brief History of Time, Stephen Hawking's book. I swear to God, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I caught a few things, but you might as well have been talking like Arabic to me. Like, I mean, it was like, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, I would have needed to have sat there. I mean, I would have needed to spend, like, I could, there's certain books that I can listen to that I can pick up stuff so quick and understand it and be able to say it back, and it's like super appealing to me, right? That was like watching, God, what's a show that my wife watches where I'm like, I don't get it. It's like watching Sex and the City or something like that, where I'm like, what is happening? And I have to ask like so many questions, and I'm like, I don't get it. What are they doing? Why do they care? Why is this happening? Like, and she's like, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? And
why asking like stupid questions? It's so obvious.
Well, but like, it's not obvious to me with these shows, but like,
that's
for
the
her,
point. That's the thing is, this is why Richard Feynman is such a great teacher. And because the thing is, that's what I'm saying is, you and I, when we talk, right? When we talk, you have to understand, and this is what I keep repeating myself is, you understand it, but then the people doesn't understand what you're saying. The people doesn't understand what you and I are saying. We keep saying, hey, be with my stem, and then we keep saying there, don't run for train. We keep saying, downhill. They have no idea what we're talking about. That's why when we're talking about the riders and elephant, you're talking about system 1, system 2. It's like, and to us, it like flows like as if this is like we talk about this for a million years.
Right. Oh, no black hole.
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
right.
That's what I'm saying is, the understanding of something is like inside. Is like you and I make up some stuff that doesn't be defined anywhere. When we talk to people, it is beyond their understanding, and they look at us like, you're a bunch of crazy dudes. So that's why, in order for us to be better, we have to become more like Richard Feynman, because we have to understand so much, become like really expert, and then bring it down to a point where I say, when you make it simple, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is when
right.
you're world class at what you do.
Yeah,
This is our journey, because right now we're talking about, the Beaver Must Dam, all these little, bumper stickers saying that we keep saying, because we are learning ourselves, but eventually we need to bring it back. Go into the mountain, go back to the valley, right? We gotta go back to the valley, and we gotta translate this to the point where they understand. Because right now we're talking about manufacturing instability.
Right.
Most people without the context, they have no idea what we're talking about.
So I totally forgot my train of thought. I was trying to tell you about Connect and Sell until I got into Donald Duck and Math Magic Land, which I'm not sure how I got there. It's the Flatland thing that threw me all off, bro. Like, you're talking about like shapes and spheres and dimensions, and I was like, all I could think of was those stupid triangles of like ding, 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 whack, 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 whack. Anyway, all right. So no, I was gonna say Connect and Sell. I don't know if I've told you about this tool that I bought for my team. I've used it in the past, and it's awesome. It's so fun. So what it is, it's a multi-line auto dialer. So you put in a couple thousand contacts you want to call, that's a particular play you want to run or whatever, like a particular talk track or whatever. Hey, I want to go call these people about this topic, about these people, these titles, these kind of companies. I just load them into this system. I hit start, and you literally just sit back, and it's like waiting. It's like a casino. It's like pulling a lottery. You're just sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
And then somebody pops on the phone. They're like, hello? And you're like, yo, hey, this is Chris. You have like 2 seconds to figure out who they are, because it'll pop up who the person is, what little bit of information is pulling from our CRM. And you're kind of ready, but you got to be on edge the whole time. Your heart's like pumping, your adrenaline's flowing. You immediately get feedback whether or not you're good or not. And then, they're either like, fuck off, goodbye, or they're like, oh, yeah, let's talk. Then you end up having a conversation. Then you hang up, you disposition it, and then you hit go again. So you end up having like 10 conversations in an hour, and it makes like 200 dials. So if you did this all day long, you're going to have like 50 conversations probably. It's crazy. It's like, for salespeople, that people like, it's like the most crack addicting game ever, right? So I've been asking them all, like from the book Love and Work, when was the last time you lost track of time, instinctively volunteered for something, blah, blah, blah. Almost every single one of them has said, I love this Connect and Sell tool, because I just get lost in it. Like, my time just zips away. They've all been like, it's just, you feel like you're in your zone. It's the novelty of it. It's the rapid feedback. Everything's changing. Every conversation is different. Every person's different. It's like, you got to engage and figure out how to get them to connect really quick. Then you got to start studying all kinds of psychology and the art of questioning. There's so much that goes into that first 30 seconds of getting somebody to just talk to you or not. This thing is so rapid fire. The feedback is so intense that it's just beautiful. They all love it. Actually, some of them
human nature. It's just human nature.
This is what we were going to of the novelty side of everything, right?
Doesn't touch the security cat at the corner. That's what you want.
Right.
Because if you tell her, if you can't talk to one guy hangs up on you, you get deducted for your pay, and you can't feed your kids, and your kids are gonna be, out in the street, blah blah, right? Yeah. Then you're like, hey, I have anxiety about this. But the thing is, the moment you say, hey, if they don't connect, no problem. If they hang up, no problem, right? So the thing is, when you give them that kind of security, protection, they want that. Right. It's like playing casino. It's like, hey, I'm gonna pull the machine. See what happens.
Yeah, they love it, man. They love it. Like, you are on edge, just waiting for something to happen. It's like, that game where you whack-a-mole. You're like, oh,
yeah.
But you got to be like in it, because you never know when somebody's gonna pop on. You never know.
Human instinct. That's what I'm telling you. Human, or like completely, like, we are driven by that gene for us to explore and discover, to be able to, find what's new, right? New things. That's who we are. Right. Because that is a gene that survives, right? That's a gene that get passed on for millions of years, and that's a gene within us, and we have to have that gene in order to survive. If we for somehow get mutated and we don't have that gene anymore, your life isn't going to be too much. I mean, you can't survive. But that's what I'm saying is, we have inherited a certain gene, and those genes are multitudes, and it's hard to understand what those are. And sometimes it's difficult to use a language that we can understand that's limited to explain and define what we see. And a lot of time we get them wrong, just because, you're taking something that's from a control environment and project it to an environment that's wicked, and there's multitudes, and, you're not going to be exact. But that's why we continue to refine this wording through the process of understanding, so we can simplify for
impeccable with our, always be impeccable with your words. That's what we're doing. That's what this whole thing is. That's why you and I talk. to figure out how we can be more impeccable with our words. Okay, cool. All right. Well, I feel good. What do you think? You any final thoughts or any more thoughts additional?
No, I think that's the thing. Is the key for us is to control where we get our novelty from.
Yes.
And I think if you understand yourself and you understand what core values is aligned with who you are as that person, I think then control novelty, unquote, stability, instability is going to give you, I think, enjoyable life.
We should come up with our own Brave New World, like 3 pillars,
But I think it's more than 3.
Instability,
But I think it's more than 3. I think
Yeah,
when
I know.
when you're trying to define something, it's hard because we keep repeating patterns. Say, hey, there's 3 over here. If there's 3, we can do 3 over here, right? If there's there's 2 over here, we do 2 over here. So we're trying to match and make a pattern out of it. But the point in life is usually it's just not really patterns. It's just random. We're talking about Nassim concept of his entire career work. Is not. There's no pattern to it.
No. Nope.
And that's the trap that we're still trying to fit ourselves in. We cannot fit ourselves into the mold. Because you say, "Wow, there's 2 over 3. 3 sounds great, right?"
There is no mold.
I mean, because the thing is, whatever we make of it, it's gonna make 3, and it's gonna be 3 because we decide it's 3.
Right.
And so whatever happens, it's like, for example, like, hey, Pete, like let me ask you this. You know how the light bulb has 60 hertz? You know what I mean when it's right? So the light flare at 60 hertz, right? So your body also adjusts its wavelength to a certain hertz as well, like 60 hertz or whatever. So my question is, did we create the light bulb to be 60 hertz because our body was 60 hertz, or because we create the light at 60 hertz and our body adapted and it becomes, so we cause which?
Good question. That sounds like a beautiful question that somebody should explore.
But my point is, you cannot answer the question. How do you answer that?
Figure it out. You go start asking more questions until you get to
this question is like, it's for you to think about. You cannot really understand. That's why I'm saying there's not really a direct translation between a kind environment and a wicked environment. There's a close enough, but never a direct, because there's not a one-to-one, because there's a one-to-many. You know what I'm saying? So now my point is that in some cases, we cannot answer that question. Maybe. If you put yourself in a box, you can never answer the question. Because if I ask you right now, can you invent a time machine? The answer is no. Can you have immortality? The answer is no. The reason why it's no is because you put yourself in a box. You are boxing yourself in your own defined box. Therefore, you can never. So in order for you to get out of the paradigm, you have to be outside the paradigm to answer new questions.
Isn't our video log a time machine? Isn't photos a time machine?
It could be. So if you think creatively outside the box, that's why when you say think
literature,
outside,
isn't Anne Frank's book a time machine? Aren't I hanging out with her in her attic in 1941 or whatever? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you really frame it. I mean, am I physically there with her?
So the thing is the framing itself. When you frame yourself, you put yourself in a box. And like, that's what I'm saying. It's I don't know if I'm even close to explaining to what I mean in my head. But
I know what you're saying.
It's hard, because if I tell you, hey, I walked down the road, I saw, a duck, right? And I saw, a mouse, right? And I saw a dog, right? What do you think about?
Pluto and Donald.
Exactly. Because you frame yourself.
Mickey.
Which world is real, right? You can't.
You're going too deep on me right now, bro.
But that's what I'm saying. The point is that in order for you and us to solve problems that is not possible today, you cannot put yourself in today's frame.
Yeah, right. I agree with that.
So what that means is it would take months and years to discuss. If
you even think about like Clubany, like we're technically still operating Clubany and the core values quest. We just got somebody else to pay for it, and we're experimenting every single day. I mean, we put ourselves in a different box. Like you said, we didn't say, well, I guess you could still do this. We still have a group of people we can lead, and we're still paying them. We're still doing the same stuff. We're still trying to talk about red threads and learning and reading together, everything, and doing all this stuff and exploring values and you know, like the only difference is like they can't technically, you know, we can't force instability, can't have them leave their job. We can't do everything we want to do, but we're getting closer. But like it's not pure, but it's, you know, like
I
we
mean,
were saying, like,
you can still control instability. I mean, it's
oh yeah,
within what you can select, right? You said there's certain things you
100%,
have to
yeah.
do. You have to meet the quota so you can continue to
Yeah.
stay in the ecosystem. But there's certain thing as, hey, you know, how do I approach this job? Like you told me yourself, you're talking about this cell connect, right? That
So,
cell
yeah.
that tool that you bought, right? That is control
Right.
instability within the confine of your duties and responsibility as the
Sure.
you know as yeah.
And
So you can still do
ironically,
it.
well, ironically for me, adding new tools and figuring out how they all connect together and helping them and coaching them, you know, it makes my job a lot of controlled instability as well. I'm doing this to myself. Nobody told me I had to do these things. I've tried to do stuff for them to help, and either it's going to work or it's not going to work. I've had to work really hard to even get, you know, this acquired, to get it purchased, to get the business case built, to get it all connected to all the other systems, to get them trained, to figure out how to make it all work and connect the dots. Like it's not easy, and I like it. It's fun, but as soon as it's stable again, I'm going to be like,
You need something,
you know,
tool,
right,
another control instability.
All right, I got to go to bed though. I played 2 tennis matches in 2 days, and I am officially beat up. Which I just, for recording's sake, I did beat somebody tonight, and I'm in the finals of our Indie Tennis Summer Challenge, and feel really good about that because I've never beat this person before. Just documenting that for future reference. So pretty
Congratulations!
Damn cool. Yeah. Thank you, very happy. And I won my first pickleball tournament on Saturday. So, you know, this deliberate practice is really paying off. Yeah. Yeah. Got another piece of the Triforce. All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
That sounds good. Good night.